What's going on here, guys? Figured I'd give a quick video update with the system and answer a few people's questions. I'm receiving all this excess power from my two resonant receiver coils that have their outputs in parallel, and I'm also utilizing my ground extraction circuit, and the potential power in that comes from the fact I have a huge aluminum plate here wrapped in plastic wrap. And when the system is on, there's a huge potential between this plate and earth ground. I use a separate earth connection for that. All the rectifier circuits go through a series capacitor of 1 nanofarad, a film capacitor, RF version. You can find these on Amazon. They're about $15 for a variety pack. Basically, you have to connect it up in a non-linear way, meaning you use the earth for a lot of your circuitry. And you have to use metal plates, receiver coils, and the reason you have to have that series capacitor is because it gives you circuit isolation, and it somehow accumulates more of the power, the radiant energy. I think what's occurring is radiant energy is a form of negative energy that might be a precursor to other forms of energy before it's converted. So again, I have my output here dead shorted. This is the dead short circuit current of my combined DC from my ground extraction circuit and my two resonant receiver coils, which both also have two huge additional storage caps on them for power, which store very rapidly. You can mess around with the values, doesn't really matter. In theory, you could put as big of a cap here you want to store power, and it will recharge very quickly because of the high frequency. The system is at 3 megahertz, and as you add more things to the system, the frequency will come down a little bit. But anyway, keep in mind our output is completely dead shorted. Our output is completely dead shorted. And we have 1.41 amps, and I still have no degradation to my wireless power. I could potentially put another rectifier tap here, in between a separate earth connection, and I would get a lot of power out. Because this energy as it exists, the radiant energy, is theorized to be a precursor to other forms of energy. And once you do certain things to it, you can make it usable. So basically the field around a Tesla coil exists as negative energy possibly, or pure potential, and the way you tap that pure potential will either be useful to you or useless. In my case, I'm trying to make it useful to the point where the system can recharge itself. I'll show you the raw output. Oh, first of all, here's our power consumption when it's dead shorted. Under 20 watts. And we have 1.41 amps there with a voltage of 47 volts. And I'm not sure if you can hear the system tingling or not, because it's in resonance. Hopefully you can pick up on that tingling. I don't want to get my phone too close because I did just fix it. I had to replace the microphone in it because the resonant energy fried it. And go back to current. That almost sounds like it goes into a higher form of resonance when shorted. Here's the amount of power we're dealing with. This is the output. It's pretty good. It's no joke. This is what the output will do to a 100 watt 120 volt halogen bulb. This bulb will get very hot. 120 volt, 100 watt. And I will demonstrate the effect where when I hook this up, my power won't change, my power consumption. So this is all of our combined received power that runs this. And as you see, he comes to a glow, and it doesn't affect our source whatsoever. It does slightly reduce our resonance, however, but doesn't affect our power consumption on the source whatsoever. This is the radiant energy being converted to DC, running an actual load. So said load is actually being run, producing heat that'll burn you. We still have the radiant energy, no degradation. And again, keep in mind, I could run another circuit, another full bridge rectifier circuit between this point, or better yet, I could even stack the plates, which are coated in plastic wrap to isolate it. It's just a large aluminum plate wrapped in plastic with a wire that comes off it, a white wire in the corner, and that collects an enormous amount of radiant energy. And then we turn that to DC through a rectifier. So keep in mind that bulb is being lit from my system. 24 watts. The output there is probably 24 watts, if not greater, maybe 25 or 30. I would say the output there is probably about 30 watts. And we're consuming 24. And when I hook this up to recharge these supercaps here, the supercaps recharge very quick. So keep in mind he's lit, and if you doubt that the system is running it, I will shut it off, and it goes out, off. And this thing is very hot. And I found out that tuning the system, you're much better off tuning it by the brightness of a high current draw incandescent bulb. Don't have your meter hooked up to it in current mode and just measure the raw current that way, because you will get misleading readings. You want to hook up a nice fat heavy incandescent bulb, and when you combine your power output receiver circuitry, the DC of it, try and keep your voltage the same across the circuitry, and no matter what kind of current you have, keep combining it, and it will add up and it will get your bulb very bright. So I'm answering some questions in this video. I'm going to show what my circuit looks like that does that, the rectifier circuit. So this is what the rectifier circuit looks like. It's composed of 1N 5817 diodes, and on the AC side we have a series film capacitor coming off, which is RF, and it's a 1 nanofarad. And I like to fold the DC legs up of my rectifier, so that way it's convenient and I can tell where the DC is. And yeah, the blocking capacitors are key. You won't get power gain in the system without having the series blocking caps. It does something with the energy where it like duplicates it or mirrors it. I'm not exactly sure why, but that's how the circuit looks there. And then we can use the power that we charge up a supercap with, or a bank of supercaps, or you can even use a nickel metal hydride battery, but the battery would be a little slower and less efficient, but supercaps are the way to go. I'll post a link to the one I use in this video. It's a variant of it. The ones I currently use are from a South American research company. They're not currently on the market, but I have tested this system with other supercaps and they work. I've tested the system with regular DC batteries and they work, and nickel metal hydride batteries and it works. You just get a slower charge, but supercaps are the way to go. And I'll post a link to a nearly identical model to the ones I use. Like, it's virtually identical. It's just a little more expensive and not quite the same high farad capacity, but you just have to parallel a few more and you're good. The key isn't really the supercaps you store the energy into. It helps, but the key is your receiver circuitry and how efficient you can get it. So hopefully that answers a few questions. And I could even keep this thing trickle charged with this circuit, going between another metal plate and earth ground, and then connecting the DC to that. And that would slowly trickle charge that while this halogen runs. And when my DC input caps that are running the system get down, I would just use this to recharge it. So again, keep in mind, we have this guy running. He's probably consuming like 30 watts. He's pretty bright, giving off some heat. I'll set a piece of paper on there and see if it smokes, or a piece of paper towel. we still have the radiant energy effects. Once the circuit is giving off that tingling sound, you can hear the radiant energy. We'll see if it still occurs in my sink. Seems to be there, but not quite as powerful as before. So, we'll see if it occurs on my wall outlet. I noticed this system, this type of radiant energy, can act as like a type of pump for another form of energy, like AC. It's almost as if this type of energy acts as a pump, or a precursor to more powerful energy. Here's on my stove, very bright on my stove because it's a large metal object. Took me a while to figure out large metal objects accumulate the power, and you would run a rectifier from your large metal object to earth ground, and there's where your power is. So, and you can keep duplicating your output with no degradation on your receiver coils or whatever. And again, our output there is about 1.4 amps at 47 volts DC. When our input is only 24 watts. The system, for efficiency, you can wrap your DC supercaps or your batteries, whatever you're using in your system. You can wrap it with foil and then have a wire come off and then plastic wrap it. And then if you ground the transmitter into the foil here that's wrapped around the supercap or the battery, it'll make it more efficient and somehow accumulate more power. I'm not sure why that effect occurs, but it does. So you can just see the radiant energies everywhere. And the way we properly harness it, you might have to do some things that don't exactly make sense in traditional terms. Like, keep in mind, I have all my rectifier circuitry here. All I did was add another wire from the negative to the AC side, and I'm not sure why, but just doing that made the bulb get brighter. And that doesn't make any sense to me why that would occur. Like, I was just messing around and somehow it got brighter just by doing that. So that's the importance of experimentation. It's one wire power transfer, and you can see the amount of power in that bulb. And you can just see how shot my test leads look from all the testing. Like, we got juice here. It's real power. No doubt about it. And I did say I was going to put a piece of paper towel over that and see if we can get it to smoke. So we'll see if there's enough heat here to get it to smoke. Getting very hot. Can't tell if it's turning brown or not. There's so much heat there, there's actually a small wind current forming, and it's keeping the little piece of paper off of the bulb slightly. Okay, so this is very hot, but it's not enough heat to catch it on fire. See that? It just wants to like get... Ooh, it was smoking. I think it's smoking. Yeah, it's smoking. I have to hold it tight to it and it's smoking. So there's the absolute power there in the incandescent. Enough to smoke the paper towel. The paper towel is becoming charred from that heat. So we're doing a real heat output. You can see that it's capable of actually doing work and burning things. And that's actually burning my hand. That's really hot. And another good way to tune that, ouch, that got hot. Anyway, I like to hook it up to a big halogen bulb here. I believe it's the same specs as this, just longer. This is another good way to tune it, and as you see, I'll demonstrate the effect that this load has no impact on our source when it's run. We're consuming 24 watts from 25 watts on the transmitter. We connect the load. It has no impact on the source, which is the transmitter, at all. We mastered the decoupling effect between our wireless received power and our ground extraction circuitry. We can receive power without placing virtually any load on the transmitter. So I'm demonstrating that effect. And I will connect up the this big bulb. As you see, it did burn the wood here a little bit. And you really don't want to touch this output. It'll really hurt. If I got this to 100 volt output DC with high current, it would be painful. You almost have to start respecting the power of the system now. So this is the raw current output of our receiver coils and our ground extraction circuitry. And because I did so much tuning with this bulb instead of the big one, I believe it's slightly impedance mismatched, causing us to draw a little bit more current from the transmitter. But when this output is hooked up to the supercaps here, recharging, it goes to 24. There's virtually no change. And again, with that lit, we can still power up our little receiver light too, again, wirelessly. No degradation anywhere. And there's real heat here, you can feel that. So the project is exciting. We're able to do large amounts of work now with the system. That plate is really what helped. And if I take the output from just the negative of my supercap when the transmitter is on and hold a light bulb from just the plate output to the negative of the supercap, bulbs will light about this intensity too, just a little less, which is very interesting. I'm not sure if you can hear the system tingling or not. You know it's working properly when it makes like a tingling sound. And I would like to show in this video the power that the load consumes with the voltage going through the load. So I will hook up the meter, which is in current mode. Alright, so here's the amount of current this load is consuming. This load is consuming . You can hear it really tingling now. I think it's more impedance matched with the longer length of the wire. Yeah, so because I made the length of the wire longer, it's more of an impedance match, and I can hear the system tingling more, and the bulb is brighter while we use less power. So it's consuming 450 milliamps, almost half an amp. And the simultaneous voltage that exists there while that bulb is being run is, let's connect this in the video. Okay, I'm going to connect we have a remaining voltage of, where can I get this in good view? Okay, so we have a remaining voltage of 15.25 volts while it's consuming 0.45 amps. So we are running a halogen bulb, probably about quarter intensity, a little over quarter intensity, because it's giving off heat. Oh yeah, that burns. I don't like the fact the wire's on that. and it's consuming 450 milliamps with a remaining voltage of 15.4 DC. Here's our power input. Get all that in frame. And we still have unfiltered radiant energy, as you see. Tapping the radiant energy even more doesn't degrade or mess with anything. Doesn't mess with our input, doesn't mess with the meters. We still have more radiant energy taps we can do. I can keep adding these taps, putting the DC in parallel, and we can have virtually unlimited power. The system would work best as a stationary generating station, and from that, its energy taps route outward between metal plates and an earth connection, or your receiver coils. So I hope that shows everything in this video that people had questions about. I shut the system off. Everything is off. Our radiant energy is dead. And just the fact when the system is in resonance, it'll say it's consuming like 25 watts from the supercaps, but I notice the charge hardly ever depletes on them when it's making that tingling sound. And I'll show that. So this meter is set for voltage, and I'll hook it up to my input supercaps and show you how the charge hardly ever drains from the input supercaps when we're in resonance with that tingling sound. I think the radiant energy is somehow wirelessly regenerating the supercaps to a degree. It won't keep it fully recharged. We still need to have that output from all the accumulated power we get from the receivers and the ground circuitry to then dump back into the input, but the input drains very slowly when it makes that tingling sound. So I figured I'd show that. I'll hook this back up again. I'll turn the system on again, and our halogen will begin to light. And again, there's our readings. As you notice, the halogen consumes a little bit more current before it gets too hot. Then as it gets really hot, the resistance decreases and it will consume less current. So that's that. And I don't like making videos too long. And yeah, we can just keep duplicating the output. I showed that undeniably in this video. This is a real research channel. The next few vids will probably be long, under 30 minutes, because I'm documenting all the research and explaining things and engaging with you guys. I'm going to start building the bigger system real soon. We're still working out a few fine-tuning with efficiencies. I did discover how to extract even more power from a receiver coil by connecting it in odd ways. Like if you jumper the primary to part of the secondary through a capacitor, somehow you can double your output for free, which is very interesting. And here's a peek at the bigger transmitter that's going to be built soon. Look at that. Look at that size comparison. Let that sink in. Like, damn. That's going to be big. So, this is a 12-inch diameter sphere, metal sphere, aluminum, that will be used, because radiant energy seems to love the aluminum. And old transmitter diameter, new transmitter diameter. Like, let that sink in. This thing will probably power your whole house with the wireless energy once converted properly. So this new model is coming soon that I'm going to sell. I sell this transmitter for $250 plus shipping, and it's all plug and play, ready to go. And then I'll be selling this huge model for $500. And yeah, thank you again, everybody. This is real research, getting exciting, and it wouldn't be here without the engagement of you guys and all your support. your support is very encouraging and